Picture this. You're a farmer in China, just trying to drain some water from your pond. Nothing unusual, right? But then something incredible happens. As the water disappears, you discover you weren't looking at a pond at all. You were standing above one of the most mind-blowing mysteries in human history. What you found is so massive, so perfectly built, and so impossible to explain that scientists from around the world are still scratching their heads 30 years later. We're talking about caves so advanced that even today, with all our technology, we can't figure out how they were made. This is the story of the Longyou Caves. And trust me, what you're about to discover will change everything you think you know about ancient civilizations. Let's go back to 1992. 4 farmers in a small village called Shuryan Baitsuan were having a problem. They had these 5 ponds that everyone in the village thought were bottomless. Local legends said they went down forever. But these farmers needed to use the land, so they decided to do something crazy. They were going to pump out all the water. Day after day, they pumped. The water kept going down, down, down. And then, suddenly, they saw something that made them stop dead in their tracks. These weren't ponds at all. They were looking down into massive underground rooms. Not natural caves, but perfectly carved chambers that someone had built by hand. The farmers had accidentally discovered what scientists now call one of the greatest archaeological mysteries of our time. But here's where it gets really wild. When the experts arrived and started investigating, they found out this wasn't just 5 caves. There were 24 of these incredible underground chambers, all connected, all perfectly built, all completely impossible to explain. Think about this for a second. These caves had been sitting there, hidden underwater, for over 2,000 years. 2,000 years. That means they were built around the time of Jesus, maybe even earlier. And nobody, absolutely nobody, knew they existed. Each cave is huge. We're talking about spaces big enough to fit hundreds of people. The largest one is so big you could park 50 cars inside it. The ceilings are 30 feet high in some places. And every single surface, every wall, every ceiling, every corner, is carved with perfect precision. But here's the part that will blow your mind. There are absolutely 0 historical records about these caves. Nothing. No ancient texts, no government documents, no stories passed down through generations. It's like whoever built them just vanished from history. When archaeologists started digging through the caves, they found some pottery pieces. These pieces helped them figure out the caves are at least 2,000 years old, possibly older. But that's literally all they found. No tools, no bones, no clues about who built them or why. The local government was so amazed by this discovery that they immediately declared the caves a protected site. Scientists from all over the world started showing up. Engineers, archaeologists, geologists, historians. Everyone wanted to solve this puzzle. And you know what's crazy? After 30 years of investigation, with all our modern technology and the smartest people on Earth studying these caves, we still have no idea who built them or why. The Longyou Caves aren't just holes in the ground. They're architectural masterpieces that challenge everything we thought we knew about ancient civilizations. And we're just getting started. What do you think? Could an ancient civilization really have built something this advanced 2,000 years ago? Let me know in the comments what your first theory is, because we're about to dive into the engineering secrets that make these caves absolutely impossible to explain. Okay, let's talk about why these caves are so mind-blowing from an engineering perspective. Because when I tell you what these ancient builders accomplished, you're going to understand why modern engineers are completely stumped. First, let's talk about size. We're not dealing with small caves here. The total area carved out is over 30,000 square meters. To put that in perspective, that's bigger than 4 football fields. And remember, every single bit of this was carved by hand, underground, in solid rock. But size is just the beginning. The precision of these caves is what really makes your jaw drop. When engineers measured the walls, they found something incredible. The angles are perfect. The surfaces are smooth as glass. The ceiling heights are exactly consistent throughout each chamber. We're talking about precision that would be impressive today with laser-guided tools and computer-controlled machinery. Here's something that will make you question everything. The builders somehow managed to create these massive spaces without any supporting pillars in the middle. Most of the chambers are completely open. Do you know how hard that is? Modern engineers have to do complex calculations and use advanced materials to create large open spaces without supports. These ancient builders did it in solid rock, by hand, 2,000 years ago. And then there's the ventilation system. Oh my goodness, the ventilation system. These caves have been flooded for who knows how long, but the moment the water was drained, the air inside was perfectly breathable. The builders designed a ventilation system so good that fresh air flows through all 24 chambers naturally. No fans, no pumps, just pure engineering genius. But wait, there's more. Each cave has these beautiful decorative patterns carved into the walls and ceilings. Not random decorations, but carefully planned designs that follow the natural flow of the rock. Some areas have fish scales, some have parallel lines that look almost like modern architectural elements. The precision of these carvings is so perfect that some people wonder if ancient people really had access to advanced tools we don't know about. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. How did they even dig these things? To create these caves, the builders had to remove approximately 1 million cubic meters of rock. That's like moving a mountain, literally. Where did all that rock go? There's no evidence of massive piles of excavated stone anywhere around the site. It's like the rock just disappeared. Modern geologists have studied the rock type. It's sandstone, which is relatively soft compared to granite, but still requires serious tools to carve precisely. The thing is, 2,000 years ago, the most advanced tools available were basic iron implements and maybe some primitive chisels. Yet somehow, the builders created surfaces so smooth you can see your reflection in them. Here's another puzzle. How did they work in complete darkness? These chambers are deep underground with no natural light sources. The builders would have needed some kind of lighting system to work for what must have been years, maybe decades. But there's no evidence of fire damage or soot on the walls. What kind of lighting system leaves no trace? Engineers today estimate that creating something like the Longyou Caves would require modern excavation equipment, sophisticated planning software, and teams of specialists. Even with all our technology, it would be a massive undertaking that would take years to complete and cost millions of dollars. Yet somehow, an ancient civilization did all this with hand tools and no written plans that we can find. They created an underground world that defies explanation and challenges everything we think we know about ancient capabilities. The engineering mysteries don't stop there, though. In our next chapter, we're going to explore the theories about who could have possibly built these incredible structures and why they would undertake such a massive project. Drop a comment and tell me, what's the most impressive engineering feat you think ancient people accomplished? Because the Longyou Caves might just top them all. So we've established that the Longyou Caves are engineering marvels that shouldn't exist. Now comes the big question. Who on earth had the knowledge, tools, and workforce to build them 2,000 years ago? Let's start with the obvious candidates. The caves were built around 200 BC, during China's Han Dynasty. This was actually a pretty advanced time in Chinese history. The Han Dynasty had impressive engineering projects. They built parts of the Great Wall, created complex irrigation systems, and had pretty sophisticated architecture. So maybe the imperial government built these caves? Here's the problem with that theory. There are absolutely no official records. The Han Dynasty was famous for keeping detailed records of everything. They documented building projects, government expenses, worker assignments, everything. If the imperial government built these massive caves, there would be paperwork. Lots and lots of paperwork. But there's nothing. Not even a mention of the project. Some historians think maybe these caves were built by a local warlord or wealthy family. Ancient China had powerful regional leaders who sometimes undertook massive construction projects to show off their wealth and power. This could explain why there are no imperial records. It was a private project. But even this theory has problems. Building the Longyou Caves would have required thousands of workers over many years. In ancient China, that many people working on a secret project? Word would have gotten out. There would be stories, legends, something passed down through generations. But the local people had no idea these caves even existed until 1992. Here's where things get really interesting. Some researchers have proposed that the caves were built by a mysterious group that history forgot completely. Maybe an advanced civilization that existed in the area but disappeared without leaving any other traces. It sounds like science fiction, but honestly, it's one of the few explanations that fits all the evidence. Think about it. To build these caves, you'd need advanced knowledge of engineering, geology, and architecture. You'd need a huge workforce and sophisticated organization. You'd need tools and techniques that could create precision surfaces in solid rock. And somehow, this entire civilization managed to complete their project and then vanish from history without leaving any other traces. There's another theory that's even more mind-blowing. Some people think the caves weren't built for any practical purpose at all. Maybe they were created as a spiritual or religious project. In ancient China, there were beliefs about underground realms and sacred spaces beneath the earth. Could these caves have been built as some kind of massive temple or ceremonial complex? This theory actually explains some of the mysteries. If the caves were built for spiritual reasons, the builders might have intentionally kept the project secret. The lack of historical records could be because it was a religious mystery that only initiates knew about. The incredible precision and beauty might have been offerings to underground gods or spirits. But here's what really keeps me up at night thinking about this mystery. What if we're looking at this all wrong? What if the Longyou Caves weren't built by the civilization we think built them? Some researchers have noticed that the construction techniques don't match other Han Dynasty projects. The precision is too high, the engineering too advanced. What if these caves are actually much older than we think? What if they were built by a civilization that existed before the Han Dynasty? A civilization that was more advanced than we ever imagined. Carbon dating of the pottery found in the cave suggests they're about 2,000 years old. But what if that pottery was left there by people who discovered the caves later, not the people who built them? What if the real builders lived thousands of years earlier and had technology and knowledge that we've completely lost to history? I know this sounds crazy, but think about it. We keep discovering that ancient civilizations were way more advanced than we gave them credit for. The Antikythera mechanism, Stonehenge, the pyramids, our ancestors were capable of incredible things we're only beginning to understand. Maybe the Longyou Caves are evidence of an advanced ancient civilization that was wiped out by some catastrophe, leaving only these incredible underground chambers as proof they ever existed. Maybe we're looking at technology and engineering knowledge that was lost to history until modern times. The truth is, every theory has problems. Every explanation leaves major questions unanswered. That's what makes the Longyou Caves so fascinating and frustrating at the same time. What do you think? Are we dealing with a lost civilization, a secret government project, or something else entirely? Share your theories in the comments because in our final chapter, we're going to explore the biggest question of all. Why would anyone build these caves in the first place? We've covered who might have built the Longyou Caves and how they managed to create such engineering marvels. Now we get to the ultimate question. Why? What possible reason could ancient people have had for spending years, maybe decades, carving out this massive underground world? Let's start with the most practical theory. Storage. Ancient civilizations needed secure places to store grain, weapons, and valuables. Underground chambers would be perfect for this. They stay cool, they're hidden from enemies, and they're protected from weather and fire. The Longyou Caves would have provided enormous storage capacity for a major city or region. But here's the thing. These caves are way too fancy for simple storage. Why would you spend years creating beautiful decorative patterns and perfectly smooth walls just to store rice and weapons? The level of craftsmanship suggests these caves were meant for something much more important than storage. Maybe they were built as shelters. China has a long history of wars and invasions. During times of conflict, people needed safe places to hide. Underground chambers would be perfect bomb shelters, essentially. A local warlord or wealthy family might have built these caves as a place to retreat during dangerous times, bringing their most important people and possessions underground until the threat passed. This shelter theory makes some sense. The caves are definitely big enough to house hundreds of people. The ventilation system would keep everyone alive during long periods underground. And the multiple chambers would allow for organization. Maybe different areas for different families or different purposes. But again, there's the decoration problem. If you're building emergency shelters, do you really spend time carving beautiful patterns on the walls? It seems like a waste of valuable time and energy when you're preparing for war. Here's a theory that's really fascinating. What if these caves were built as tombs? Not regular tombs, but massive burial complexes for incredibly important people. Ancient Chinese culture placed huge emphasis on proper burial and honoring ancestors. The most powerful emperors and nobles were buried in elaborate tomb complexes that took years to build. The Longyou Caves would definitely be impressive enough for royal burials. The size, the craftsmanship, the mysterious nature, it all fits. Maybe each chamber was meant for different members of a royal family, or maybe the whole complex was designed for one incredibly important person and all their possessions and servants. The tomb theory could explain why there are no historical records. Tomb locations were often kept secret to prevent grave robbers. If these caves were built as royal tombs, the builders might have intentionally erased all records of their location after the burial was complete. But here's the problem. Where are the bodies? Archaeologists have searched these caves extensively and found almost nothing. No bones, no burial goods, no evidence that anyone was ever buried there. If these were tombs, they're empty tombs. Now we get to the theories that are really wild. Some researchers think the Longyou Caves were built for religious or spiritual purposes. Ancient Chinese belief systems included ideas about underground realms, sacred spaces beneath the earth, and connections between the world of the living and the world of spirits. Maybe these caves were built as massive temples or meditation spaces. The quiet, peaceful atmosphere underground would be perfect for spiritual practices. The multiple chambers could have been used for different rituals or ceremonies. The beautiful decorations might have been offerings to underground gods or spirits. This spiritual theory actually explains a lot of the mysteries. Religious projects were often kept secret from outsiders. The builders might have been members of a secret religious sect that deliberately left no records. The incredible precision and beauty make sense if the caves were built as sacred offerings. But here's the theory that really blows my mind. What if the Longyou Caves were built as some kind of ancient technology that we don't understand? Think about it. The precise engineering, the perfect ventilation system, the mysterious construction methods. What if all of this served a purpose we can't even imagine? What if these caves were built to do something, not just to house something? Some people have suggested the caves might have been built to harness underground water sources or geological energy. Others think they might have been designed as some kind of ancient observatory or calculation device. The precise angles and measurements might have had mathematical or astronomical significance that we're missing. I know this sounds like science fiction, but remember, we keep discovering that ancient people understood things about science and engineering that we thought were impossible for their time. Maybe the Longyou Caves represent technology and knowledge that we've completely lost to history. Here's my personal theory, and I want to know what you think about it. What if the Longyou Caves served multiple purposes? What if they started as one thing and evolved into something else over time? Maybe they began as practical storage or shelter spaces, but as the builders worked on them for years, they became something more. Maybe the act of creating these incredible underground chambers became a spiritual or cultural practice in itself. Maybe different generations of builders added different elements for different purposes. The truth is, we may never know for sure why the Longyou Caves were built. They remain one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, a puzzle that challenges everything we think we know about ancient civilizations. But that's what makes them so incredible. In a world where we think we've figured everything out, where satellite images show us every corner of the Earth, there are still places that can surprise us, still mysteries that can make us question our assumptions about the past. What's your theory? Why do you think someone would spend decades creating these incredible underground chambers? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to share this video with anyone who loves unsolved mysteries as much as we do. The Longyou Caves prove that our ancestors were capable of incredible things we're only beginning to understand. These 2,000-year-old chambers challenge everything we think we know about ancient engineering, organization, and technology. But here's what I find most amazing about this mystery. It's still unsolved. In an age where we can map the human genome and send robots to Mars, we still can't figure out who built these caves or why. That's incredible, and it gives me hope that there are still amazing discoveries waiting for us out there. The Longyou Caves remind us that history is full of surprises, that ancient people were way more advanced than we often give them credit for, and that the past still has secrets to reveal. If you loved diving into this mystery with me, you're going to love our other videos about unsolved archaeological puzzles. Check out our video about the Antikythera mechanism, an ancient Greek computer that's just as mind-blowing as these caves. And don't miss our deep dive into the Nazca Lines, another ancient mystery that challenges everything we think we know about the past. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell because we're always exploring the most incredible unsolved mysteries in history. Trust me, you don't want to miss what we're uncovering next. And here's what I want to know. What ancient mystery do you think we should investigate next? Drop your suggestions in the comments because your ideas help shape what we explore together. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey into one of history's greatest mysteries. Keep questioning, keep wondering, and keep exploring the amazing secrets our world still holds. Until next time, stay curious.